On a quiet morning along the Chesapeake Bay, a single, unassuming suitcase floated against the current, an ordinary object hiding an unimaginable secret. What began as a chance discovery would unravel a tale of betrayal, calculated violence, and a crime so meticulously planned that it would grip a nation and redefine the boundaries of suburban normalcy. Beneath the veneer of family life and professional respectability, a dark narrative was waiting to be exposed, a story that would challenge assumptions about trust, reveal the depths of human deception, and leave a lasting mark on the landscape of true crime. It began with a sight so out of place that it stopped a stranger in their tracks. Along the quiet edges of the Chesapeake Bay, where people expected water and wildlife, not human cruelty, a discarded suitcase lay partially hidden. What was inside would unravel a marriage, expose calculated violence, and ignite one of the most unsettling murder investigations of the early 2000s. That single discovery did not just alert police to a death. It opened a trail of questions that pointed back to a suburban life that looked ordinary from the outside. The victim was William Bill McGuire, a respected Navy veteran and software engineer. The prime suspect was his wife, Melanie McGuire, a fertility clinic nurse and mother of two, someone few imagined capable of orchestrating such a crime. For years, the case faded into the background of true crime history, but decades later it has resurfaced with force. A renewed wave of attention followed the release of Suitcase Killer, the Melanie McGuire story, a Lifetime film produced in 2022 that dramatized the investigation, the trial, and the shocking verdict. When the film began streaming on Netflix, it introduced a new generation to the case, reigniting debate, fascination, and unease. As viewers revisited the story, old evidence was re-examined, courtroom moments replayed, and questions resurfaced about motive, trust, and the darkness that can exist behind closed doors. What seemed at first like an isolated discovery by a passerby soon revealed itself as the final chapter of a crime that had been carefully planned long before that suitcase ever reached the water. And to understand how it all happened, investigators had to trace the story back, not to the shoreline, but to a marriage already quietly coming apart. The shocking scene that began with a single suitcase quickly escalated into a grisly revelation. In May 2004, fishermen navigating the calm waters of the Chesapeake Bay spotted something unusual, an ordinary suitcase bobbing against the current. Curiosity turned to horror when authorities discovered human remains inside. The first suitcase was only the beginning. Within days, 2 more were recovered along the Virginia shoreline, each containing additional body parts, revealing the deliberate and meticulous nature of the crime. Authorities, piecing together the fragmented evidence, confirmed the identity of the victim, William McGuire, a 39-year-old computer programmer from New Jersey. According to the New Jersey Attorney General's office, his remains had been carefully dismembered and placed inside 3 matching suitcases before being dumped into the waters of the Chesapeake Bay. The luggage eventually drifted to the Virginia coastline near the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, a stark reminder of the journey that had carried McGuire's final remains away from his home and into public consciousness. The methodical dismemberment and disposal of the body sent shockwaves through the community, raising immediate questions about who could commit such an act and why. It was a crime that spoke of calculation, patience, and chilling premeditation. Investigators now faced the daunting task of tracing the last known movements of the victim and uncovering the hidden motives behind a murder so meticulously executed. Even in a suburban setting that seemed ordinary, the discovery of the suitcases revealed the horrifying truth. The danger had not come from strangers, but from someone far closer to home. Suspicion quickly shifted from the unknown to someone very familiar. Authorities turned their attention to Melanie McGuire, a nurse and mother of 2 from Woodbridge, New Jersey, whose life on the surface seemed orderly, even conventional. Yet behind closed doors, prosecutors argued, a far darker reality had been taking shape. During a 6-week trial, the prosecution presented a narrative that painted Melanie as a woman who exploited her medical expertise to plan her husband's murder with chilling precision. According to the New Jersey Attorney General's office, evidence indicated that she had purchased a .38 caliber handgun and ammunition in Pennsylvania just days before William McGuire vanished. Investigators alleged that William had been incapacitated with a powerful sedative, making him defenseless, before he was shot twice, once in the head and once in the chest. The motive, prosecutors claimed, was personal and deliberate. Melanie sought to end her marriage to William and pursue a relationship with her lover, a doctor she worked alongside at a fertility clinic. Every piece of evidence suggested careful planning, from the timing of the handgun purchase to the methodical disposal of William's remains. The seemingly ordinary suburban nurse had, prosecutors argued, orchestrated a crime that was as calculated as it was brutal, transforming a domestic relationship into the epicenter of one of the most notorious murder cases of the early 2000s. As the trial unfolded, the courtroom became a stage for a story of betrayal, premeditation, and cold calculation, with each detail amplifying the chilling contrast between Melanie's public persona and the crime for which she was accused. The case against Melanie McGuire grew even more damning as investigators uncovered a disturbing pattern of planning and premeditation. Authorities alleged that she had forged a prescription for chloral hydrate, a powerful sedative, using the name of a patient from the fertility clinic where she worked, on the morning of the killing shortly after dropping her children off at daycare. She reportedly purchased the drug at a local Walgreens, a move investigators argued demonstrated both intent and calculated timing. Digital evidence further painted a chilling picture. Internet searches recovered from the couple's home computer included queries such as how to commit murder, undetectable poisons, and instructions on illegally obtaining firearms. Prosecutors argued that these searches were not idle curiosity but part of a deliberate blueprint for killing William McGuire. In the courtroom, jurors were told that Melanie shot her husband inside their Woodbridge apartment, then carried out a methodical dismemberment of his body. She allegedly wrapped the remains in black trash bags before placing them carefully into suitcases, which would later be found floating along the Chesapeake Bay. Each step, prosecutors contended, revealed meticulous planning, a cold detachment, and a calculated effort to cover her tracks. The combination of forged prescriptions, targeted internet research, and the gruesome disposal of William's body created an image of a crime executed with precision, turning what appeared to be a conventional suburban life into a shocking tale of betrayal and murder that gripped the nation. The prosecution's case grew increasingly tangible as forensic evidence began to connect the dots between the crime scene, the disposal of the body, and Melanie McGuire herself. Experts testified that tiny fragments of flesh discovered inside William McGuire's abandoned Nissan Maxima were indeed from the victim and could not have come from a living person. The vehicle, authorities reported, had been left at a motel in Atlantic City, suggesting a deliberate effort to move and conceal evidence far from the couple's home. Investigators also traced the trash bags used to transport William's dismembered remains directly back to the McGuire's apartment. Further examination of tape recovered from the bags revealed razor stubble containing DNA from both Melanie and William McGuire, a chilling testament to the violent and intimate nature of the crime. Each piece of forensic evidence reinforced the prosecution's portrayal of meticulous planning. From the apartment where the murder and dismemberment took place, to the tools and materials used to conceal the act, and finally to the calculated transport of the remains. This chain of evidence left little room for doubt in the eyes of the authorities. What had begun as a shocking discovery along the Chesapeake Bay now stood as a carefully documented trail leading inexorably back to Melanie McGuire, exposing a grim reality that lurked behind the facade of a seemingly ordinary family life. The courtroom became a theater of forensic detail, each revelation further entrenching the narrative of premeditation, betrayal, and the cold execution of a murder that stunned New Jersey and captured national attention. In response, Melanie McGuire's defense mounted a starkly different narrative, challenging both the plausibility and the prosecution's assumptions. Her attorney, Joseph Tacopina, emphasized the physical disparities between the couple, portraying Melanie, a petite nurse, as incapable of overpowering her 6'3", 210-pound husband. Tacopina argued that such a violent act, including the dismemberment of William's body, would have been nearly impossible for her to execute alone. The defense further questioned the logistics of the alleged crime. Tacopina suggested that carrying out a murder and dismemberment inside the McGuire's apartment without alerting neighbors or leaving more obvious physical evidence strained credibility. He pressed the jury to consider whether someone else could have committed the act, highlighting William McGuire's personal life, including alleged gambling debts, as a potential motive for a third-party perpetrator. By framing the case around Melanie's supposed physical limitations and the possibility of an alternative culprit, the defense sought to cast doubt on the prosecution's meticulous timeline and forensic evidence. Yet, even as these arguments were presented, the growing weight of digital footprints, forensic DNA, and carefully traced movements continued to loom over the courtroom, creating a tense clash between physical plausibility and circumstantial certainty. The trial became more than a question of motive. It turned into a battle over whether meticulous planning could overcome seemingly insurmountable physical barriers. Melanie McGuire chose to remain silent, never taking the stand in her own defense. Instead, the jury was presented with secretly recorded conversations between her and two men close to her: her lover, Dr. Bradley Miller, and a trusted friend. In these recordings, she consistently denied any involvement in her husband's death, maintaining a facade of innocence that contrasted sharply with the mounting evidence against her. Despite her silence, the trial moved inexorably toward a verdict. In April 2007, after careful deliberation, a Middlesex County jury found McGuire guilty on multiple counts, including first-degree murder, desecration of a corpse, perjury, and possession of a firearm for an unlawful purpose, as reported by the New Jersey Attorney General's office. The conviction crystallized the narrative prosecutors had meticulously constructed: a woman who had used her knowledge, planning, and access to lethal tools to commit a premeditated and violent crime. The courtroom drama, spanning weeks of testimony, forensic detail, and psychological analysis, had concluded with a stark judgment. Melanie McGuire, once a suburban nurse and mother, was now defined in public memory by a crime that shocked the nation. A chilling reminder that appearances can mask the darkest intentions, and that the evidence of careful planning often speaks louder than words. While the conviction was decisive, it was not absolute. Melanie McGuire was acquitted on several additional charges related to anonymous communications sent to law enforcement, leaving small but lingering questions about aspects of the case. Prosecutors acknowledged that certain details remained unresolved, particularly whether she had acted entirely alone or with an accomplice. Despite extensive investigation, no accomplice was ever identified or charged, leaving that chapter of the case shrouded in uncertainty. Attorney General Stuart Rabner reflected on the outcome, emphasizing both the thoroughness of the prosecution and the lengths to which McGuire had gone to conceal her actions. Melanie McGuire went to extraordinary lengths to cover up her crime, he said. The state also went to great lengths to expose and convict her. The statement underscored the painstaking work required to unravel a crime that combined careful planning, medical knowledge, and deception, and it framed the verdict as the culmination of a complex, high-stakes investigation. In the end, the case of the Chesapeake Bay suitcases became a stark illustration of calculated domestic violence, a story where meticulous planning met relentless pursuit of justice. It left a nation grappling with the unsettling truth that appearances can be deceiving, and that the most ordinary lives may conceal extraordinary darkness. Following her conviction, Melanie McGuire was sentenced to life in prison, a sentence reflecting the gravity and premeditated nature of her crimes. She remains incarcerated at the Edna Mahan Correctional Facility for Women in New Jersey, serving time for first-degree murder, desecration of a corpse, perjury, and unlawful possession of a firearm. Over the years, McGuire has repeatedly challenged her conviction through appeals, seeking to overturn the verdict or secure a reduced sentence. Each time, however, the courts have denied her requests, upholding the original judgment and reinforcing the strength of the evidence against her. Her imprisonment stands as a lasting resolution to a case that captivated the nation, a grim reminder of the consequences of meticulous deception and violence concealed behind a seemingly ordinary suburban life. Yet even decades later, the story continues to fascinate the public, drawing renewed attention through dramatizations like Suitcase Killer, the Melanie McGuire story, and sparking ongoing debate about motive, method, and the enduring question of whether she acted entirely alone. The chilling saga of Melanie McGuire and the Chesapeake Bay suitcases leaves viewers with more than shock or morbid fascination. It offers a profound lesson about the dangers of deception and the hidden complexities of human relationships. Beneath the facade of an ordinary suburban life lay calculated betrayal, demonstrating that appearances can be profoundly misleading. The case underscores the power of meticulous investigation, forensic science, and relentless pursuit of truth, showing how law enforcement can piece together even the most carefully concealed crimes. For the audience, the story serves as a stark reminder that trust, vigilance, and critical awareness are essential, and that extraordinary planning and premeditation can exist in the most unsuspecting circumstances. Beyond its sensational details, the McGuire case teaches that justice, though sometimes delayed, can prevail when evidence, persistence, and scrutiny converge. Ultimately, it is a cautionary tale about human ambition, deceit, and the enduring consequences of choices made in secrecy, leaving a lasting impression that truth, no matter how deeply buried, will find its way to the surface. Don't forget to subscribe for more chilling content and hit the notification bell to stay updated.